The crowd inside the SpaceX hangar settled into an expectant hush as Elon Musk stepped onto the stage. Cameras flashed, screens lit up, and engineers, investors, journalists, and fans leaned forward, anticipating the usual mix of updates about rockets, Mars missions, and cutting-edge technology. But something about Musk's expression was different. His shoulders carried a weight that numbers and timelines couldn't explain, and his eyes searched the audience as though he was about to share something far more personal than an engine-thrust ratio. Instead of launching into Falcon-heavy payload statistics or Starship milestones, Elon paused. The silence lengthened. Then, in a voice quieter than the crowd was used to, he began to speak, not of hardware or breakthroughs, but of a night that had changed him completely. He told them it had been early morning on the 6th of September, 2025. The world outside slept while he sat in front of his computer, his eyes fixed on telemetry data from the latest Starship tests. The hum of machines, the cold glow of the screen, and the endless calculations had wrapped around him like they always did. But then, a strange urge struck him, a pull he couldn't explain. He felt he needed to step away, not out of exhaustion, not because of an error in the data, but because something deeper was calling him to stillness. Those who knew Musk knew this was unusual. Stillness was not in his vocabulary. His mind raced endlessly, running simulations, weighing probabilities, jumping to the next solution. Yet that night, he closed his laptop, let the room fall silent, and simply sat. And in that silence, he said, something happened that defied every algorithm, every model, every law of physics he trusted. He saw Jesus. He described it plainly, almost clinically at first, but the weight in his tone silenced any attempt to reduce it to hallucination. Jesus was there, not as a hazy vision, not as an abstract idea, but as real as any person standing in the audience. He didn't speak at first. He simply looked at Elon with eyes that carried two impossible opposites at once: infinite love and infinite sadness. The audience shifted uncomfortably, and used to hearing the CEO who had once captivated them with rocket equations now speaking about something beyond science. Yet Elon pressed on. He told them that in those eyes he saw not engineering challenges, not business problems, not political debates, but the state of humanity itself. And what he saw broke him. He saw billions walking with a hollow emptiness inside, desperately trying to fill it with careers, possessions, entertainment, politics, social media, all of it. They searched everywhere but the one place that could truly satisfy. The tragedy was not in the search itself, but in the blindness to the answer waiting patiently, loving them even as they wandered. As Musk's words fell over the audience, his usual cadence of certainty gave way to something raw, something trembling. He explained that Jesus had shown him that while humanity had built astonishing systems, rockets piercing the sky, machines that thought like humans, the most advanced creation was not steel, nor silicon, nor code. It was the human soul. And unlike code, the soul could not be debugged by updates. Love could not be upgraded with algorithms. Loneliness could not be patched with productivity metrics. Elon paused then, his voice catching slightly, and told the crowd, "I've dedicated my life to human potential. But if we are spiritually bankrupt, none of it matters. We can colonize Mars. But if we take broken hearts and disconnected souls with us, we'll only export our problems to another planet." The silence in the hangar was total. Reporters lowered their pens. Engineers stopped taking notes. For once, no one asked about launch windows or cost per kilogram. Everyone simply listened. And then, Musk said, Jesus disappeared. He admitted he sat for hours afterward, questioning himself, wondering if it had been exhaustion, a trick of the mind, a dream. But deep down, he knew it had been real. The peace it carried was not something his mind could manufacture. And just when doubt began to creep back in, at around 4 a.m., it happened again. Jesus appeared a second time. But this time, Musk said, it was not the present state of humanity he was shown. It was the end of the story. Not apocalypse, not destruction, not catastrophe, but the conclusion God had written from the beginning. He was shown the moment when love finally wins, when every tear is wiped away, when every injustice is undone, when every heart is healed. Musk's voice broke, and he whispered into the microphone, "That vision, it changed me." As Elon Musk stood on the stage, the air seemed heavy with the weight of his words. This was not the update his audience had come for. Yet no one moved, no one coughed, no one dared break the spell of the story he was telling. He explained how the second encounter unfolded. When Jesus reappeared at 4 a.m., it was not the present world of brokenness he showed him, but the ending, the final chapter humanity was moving toward. Elon described it with a voice trembling between awe and sorrow. He had seen not destruction or chaos, not some apocalyptic flame, but the restoration of all things. He told the silent crowd that he had seen a future where love was victorious, where tears no longer existed, where justice had replaced injustice, where broken hearts were healed. A vision of human progress aligned not only with ambition, but with wisdom and compassion far greater than human hands could create. In that vision, artificial intelligence did not divide humanity, it strengthened bonds. Space exploration was not humanity's desperate escape, but a joyful expression of wonder. Renewable energy did not just power devices, it powered entire communities built on care and shared responsibility. Every piece of human innovation found its rightful place, not as replacements for love, but as instruments shaped by it. The most painful part of the vision, Musk confessed, was realizing this was not some distant age awaiting them on Mars or in another century. It was available now, right now, in the heart of every single person willing to open the door. He said he cried, and the word cried caught in his throat. He admitted he had wept like a child, alone in his office, overwhelmed by what he had witnessed. He cried because all the rockets, the algorithms, the factories, and the systems could not fill the deepest emptiness in the human soul. He cried because the love that people searched for endlessly in success, fame, and possessions had been freely offered all along. And he cried because he realized that while humanity could conquer the stars, without healing their hearts first, they would simply carry their brokenness across galaxies. The audience remained transfixed as Musk continued. He told them Jesus had revealed truths that stripped away years of assumptions and engineering mindset. The first truth, that love was not conditional on achievement. All his life, Musk had measured value in execution. How many problems solved, how many rockets launched, how many products shipped. But here was a reality that defied metrics. Love was constant, unconditional, untouched by failure or success. You are valuable, Elon said, looking across the room, simply because you exist. The second truth, that technology, as impressive as it was, could never solve the deepest problems of the human spirit. Neural links could connect brains, but they could not erase loneliness. Cities could run on renewable energy, but no turbine or solar panel could manufacture meaning. Artificial intelligence could process terabytes of data, but it could not generate compassion. Technology was not worthless, but unless it served something higher, it was incomplete. Then came the third truth, connection. We have created social networks that link billions, Elon said, yet people have never felt more alone. His eyes scanned the hall, and many lowered their gaze. We built communication systems that can cross the globe instantly, yet we cannot sustain a conversation with the person sitting next to us. True connection, he said, did not pass through servers or satellites. It happened when one soul recognized another, when eyes met, when words slowed, when presence was real. The fourth truth, suffering. Musk admitted he had always approached life as a set of problems to solve, inefficiencies to fix, bugs to eliminate. But suffering, he had seen, was not always the enemy. Sometimes it was the very pathway that broke open the human heart, allowing it to receive the love it had resisted in comfort. We must not create suffering, he said firmly, but we must not ignore it either. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply be with someone in their pain, reminding them they are not alone. His voice softened then, as if the weight of these truths pressed against him even as he spoke. Reporters stared at him, not knowing what to write. Engineers shifted uneasily, recognizing truths they had perhaps avoided in the comfort of work in progress. Investors frowned, confused by words that did not fit balance sheets or technical roadmaps. And yet, no one left. No one interrupted. The story was carrying them somewhere far beyond quarterly targets or colonization dreams. Musk was opening a window into something eternal. And in that silent hall, filled with the hum of machines and the weight of human ambition, everyone knew they were hearing not just a CEO, but a man undone by a vision too powerful to ignore. The hall remained silent, every ear fixed on Elon Musk as he continued. His voice wavered between conviction and vulnerability, like a man carrying truths too heavy to keep inside. The audience could sense that what he was sharing was not rehearsed, not calculated, but born out of an experience that had shattered and remade him in the same night. He spoke of the fifth truth Jesus had revealed to him: purpose. For years, Musk had carried the banner of great missions, making humanity multiplanetary, combating climate change, shaping artificial intelligence to benefit rather than destroy. These missions had defined his existence, the goals that justified every sacrifice of time, sleep, and relationship. But in that encounter, he realized they were not the ultimate end. Humanity's highest purpose, he told the crowd, was not to conquer planets or bend nature to human will, but to love and to be loved. When our missions serve love, he said, his voice rising slightly, they become part of something eternal. But when they replace love, they distract us from what truly matters. He let the words hang in the air before moving on to the sixth truth: time. Elon confessed that he had lived almost entirely in the future. Deadlines, launch windows, quarterly results, decade-long roadmaps. Everything was about what had to be done tomorrow, next year, next generation. But Jesus had shown him the most important moment was not ahead or behind, but right now. This moment, Elon said, pointing toward the audience, is where God meets us. This moment is where love is available. This moment is where life actually happens. He told them that humanity spent so much energy optimizing for tomorrow that it often missed the miracle of today, the chance to love the person in front of them, the opportunity to find peace in the present rather than after the next achievement. His words struck chords across the room. Engineers who had lived by countdown clocks, investors who thrived on projections, fans who waited for the next product reveal, all were reminded of the now, a moment more fragile and more sacred than any technological frontier. Then Musk spoke of forgiveness, the seventh truth. His analogy was sharp. In engineering, bugs were fixed and systems were patched. But human relationships, he said, could not be treated like software updates. Forgiveness isn't fixing, he declared. It's choosing to release resentment even when the problem isn't solved. It's choosing to love when someone has disappointed you. His voice cracked with emotion as he described forgiveness as the most powerful force for healing relationships, something anyone could choose in any moment, regardless of the other person's response. Finally, he shared the eighth truth: hope. He acknowledged the magnitude of the challenges facing humanity: climate change, resource scarcity, the risks of AI, deep social divisions. No one doubted that Musk had studied these problems more intensely than most world leaders. But hope, he insisted, could not be based on humanity's ability to solve every crisis. Hope had to rest on God's love for humanity and his promise to set all things right. This doesn't make us passive, Musk explained. It makes us active. It makes us work harder, not because we're afraid everything will collapse if we fail, but because we love people and want to help. Our security doesn't come from our success rate. It comes from knowing we are loved. His words echoed through the hangar, bouncing off the steel beams and vast walls like signals sent into deep space. Scientists in the audience looked conflicted, torn between the world of data and the mystery Elon described. Journalists typed slower, no longer trying to capture sound bites, but struggling to process a message that transcended headlines. Ordinary fans sat in awe, watching the man they once knew only as an innovator reveal himself as something more vulnerable, more human. And then Musk leaned forward on the podium, his gaze intense, and said quietly, "Some of you might think I've lost my perspective. But let me tell you, I've never thought more clearly than I do right now. Science and faith are not opposites. They are both ways of seeking truth. And the truth is, the universe is far more mysterious and wonderful than any model we can build. The same creative intelligence that wrote the laws of physics is the source of the love that transforms human hearts." The crowd did not applaud. They could not. The moment was too heavy for clapping, too sacred for noise. For the first time in perhaps any SpaceX event, the most powerful energy in the room was not excitement or ambition, but reverent silence. The silence inside the SpaceX hall had grown so deep that even the faint hum of the air systems seemed loud. Elon Musk stood at the podium, his hands resting firmly on the edges, his eyes reflecting both exhaustion and fire. The audience watched him with rapt attention, no longer expecting charts or timelines, but sensing they were part of a moment unlike any other in the company's history. He spoke again, slower now, his voice heavy with meaning. He told the people gathered that what he had experienced was not about joining a religion or following a set of rules. It was not about dogma or institutions. It was about recognizing that the love everyone searched for was already present, already knowing them, already pursuing them. It's not something you earn, he said softly. It's something you receive. Then he turned his words to those in the crowd who might be struggling. To the scientists and engineers who prided themselves on evidence and proof, he confessed that he too had built his life on data. Yet there were truths, he said, that no equation could capture, mysteries greater than any model. The very fact that consciousness exists, he explained, should humble us. We can simulate intelligence, but we can't explain what it feels like to be you. We can create machines that behave intelligently, but we can't explain why love and beauty exist at all. He shifted, addressing another group, those who believed but carried doubt and disappointment. He assured them that their questions did not disqualify them. In fact, he said, some of the most beautiful faith stories he had encountered began with wrestling, with uncertainty. God isn't threatened by your doubts, Elon told them. He's honored by your willingness to wrestle with the mystery instead of accepting easy answers. Then he turned toward those who had been wounded by religion itself, those who had seen hypocrisy, judgment, or abuse from people claiming to represent faith. He urged them not to let the failures of others define the reality of Jesus. Judge him by his own words and actions, Elon said firmly, not by the mistakes of those who claim his name but fail to reflect his heart. The audience sat motionless. Some crossed their arms defensively, others leaned forward with tears in their eyes. Musk had long been a polarizing figure, but tonight his words reached deeper than controversy, into the raw places of the human heart. He described how the encounters with Jesus had redefined even his work. For years, rockets and spacecraft had been his highest pursuit. Now he saw them as tools, important, yes, but secondary to something greater. He urged the crowd not to confuse human achievement with ultimate purpose. The most sophisticated technology you will ever encounter, he said with piercing intensity, is a human being loved by God. No AI will ever surpass the intelligence of the one who created intelligence itself. His words carried a gravity that reporters could not spin into quick headlines. They demanded reflection. They demanded confrontation with truths most had tried to avoid. Then, in a moment that seemed to surprise even himself, Elon invited his listeners into the same openness that had undone him. He told them they didn't need to clean up their lives, or memorize theology, or even attend church to open their hearts. They could begin right where they were, with honesty. He gave them examples, a whisper like, God, if you're real, show me your love, or a cry like, Jesus, I need unconditional love right now, or even just a weary sigh. I'm tired of this emptiness. I'm open. The hall was utterly still. It felt less like a tech presentation and more like a sacred gathering. Elon's voice dropped lower, carrying both fragility and conviction. There's no formula, he said. No special words. God already knows your heart. He's been waiting for this moment, waiting for openness, waiting to love you. It was unlike anything SpaceX or any tech company had ever witnessed. The audience was no longer thinking about Mars or quarterly projections. They were thinking about their own lives, their own emptiness, their own longing. And in that silence, many realized they had come expecting news about rockets, but had received something infinitely greater. The final stretch of Elon Musk's speech carried a different weight. The audience could sense it, not the urgency of deadlines, nor the fire of ambition, but the gravity of a man speaking about something eternal. The backdrop of the SpaceX logo seemed almost too small for the scale of what he described. He leaned into the microphone, his tone measured but filled with conviction. You are loved, he said. The words hung in the air, surprising in their simplicity. Not conditionally, not temporarily, not because of what you can offer. You are loved completely, permanently, simply because you exist. The statement was not dressed in equations or wrapped in innovation. It was raw truth, and it touched the silence in the room like a spark on dry ground. He told them that the creator of the universe, the same intelligence that designed the laws of physics and the complexity of DNA, knew them by name. He knew their fears, their failures, their joys, their tears. And his love, Musk said, did not rise and fall like a stock price, did not shift with performance, did not vanish under disappointment. It is constant, Elon repeated, unchanging, more reliable than any law of nature we've ever discovered. For a moment, it no longer felt like a tech event. Engineers forgot about rockets, investors forgot about markets, journalists forgot about headlines. It felt as though the entire hall had been pulled into a different kind of mission, one not measured in payloads or light years, but in hearts and souls. Then Musk did something even more unexpected. He invited them, gently, to take a step he himself had taken that night. He asked them, if they were ready, to open their hearts to the love he had encountered. He explained it wasn't about religion or ritual. It was about relationship. You don't need to have it all figured out, he said. You don't need to clean up your life first. You just need to be willing, to be open. He spoke of prayer, not as ceremony, but as honesty. He gave them examples, whispers, questions, even exhausted sighs. God already knows your heart, he told them. He's been waiting for this moment. His voice trembled, but he pressed forward, leading them as though speaking not just to the room, but to each individual heart. As he spoke a prayer of gratitude, of surrender, of hope, the hall was so silent that even the creak of chairs was audible. Some closed their eyes. Others stared forward, conflicted but unable to look away. Tears slipped quietly down the faces of more than a few. And for perhaps the first time in SpaceX's history, the future of rockets and Mars was not the center of attention. When he finally lifted his head, the emotion in his eyes was unmistakable. He thanked the audience, not for funding, not for loyalty, not for belief in his companies, but for listening. The future we're building together matters, he said. But it doesn't matter more than your relationship with the one who holds that future. He paused then, scanning the crowd, his voice lowering to a whisper. Don't be afraid to trust him with your story. He's been writing love stories since the beginning of time, and he wants to write one with you. The hall remained silent for a beat longer, as if the air itself refused to let go of the moment. Then, slowly, the audience rose, not with the explosive applause of a rocket launch, but with the reverent, steady sound of people acknowledging something far beyond themselves. Some clapped, others simply stood in quiet respect. It was not celebration, it was recognition. For Elon Musk, this was not just another presentation. It was a confession, a revelation, a moment of vulnerability laid bare before the world. He had stood as the man known for technology, ambition, and relentless drive, and walked off as something more, a witness to love. And as the lights dimmed and the stage emptied, everyone present knew they had been part of a night that would not be remembered for rocket statistics or engineering breakthroughs. It would be remembered for the moment when a man who had spent his life chasing the stars reminded humanity of the infinite universe already waiting within their hearts.